Life is good, but escapism is needed in order for some people to process the reality that we live in or enhance the reality that we already exist in. Substances are often a key factor for people who are wanting to escape reality for short moments in time. Because of this, my social action project will focus on the reason people take drugs and the rising drug culture within the UK for teenagers. When drugs and substances use is the topic of conversation or question, usually bad connotations are attached with it and the people that use it. But in today's society, there is a rising scene for people who are taking drugs recreationally and still able to lead a normal 9-to-5 life. Within teenagers, in some groups and areas, it would seem that drugs are seen to be quite conventional with their social lives. There were lots of people at the disco and I felt disorientated and a little bit paranoid. My heart was beating so fast that I thought my chest was going to explode. I've never sweat so much in my life. My eyes were vibrating so much. I started to dance, I just couldn't stop. My feet didn't want to stop. I danced for almost 5 hours with no rest. I wasn't a good dancer and I wasn't even dancing in rhythm, but I couldn't care less. I was so happy that I just could not be giving a care to anyone. I remember thinking I was going to die because my heart was really fast, but not being worried because I wanted to move and dance. I don't know if it was the lights or if I was hallucinating, but I remember watching someone's face and seeing a big red spot in one of his eyes. It looked like blood and some black and white stripes on his face. They looked like they were moving. No one had to call an ambulance for me, so I guess the night wasn't bad at all. %80 of students who take drugs do so for recreational purposes. More so specifically, they use drugs to enhance social interactions, to make friends and become closer to existing friends and improve confidence. University students are more likely to use drugs than other young people in the general population. Just over half of students in a survey conducted by Vice said they had ever used an illegal drug, with 39% saying they currently use them. This compares to 35% of 16 to 24-year-olds in the general population who have ever taken a drug, and 19% who have taken one in the last year. Cannabis is by far the most commonly used substance, having been tried at some point by 94% of those who have used an illegal drug. Ecstasy is the second most commonly used drugs for students, followed by cocaine, nitrous oxides, otherwise known as balloons, ketamine and LSD. It was shown that most students had a relaxed attitude towards drug use and felt generally safe using them in social settings, but those who had never used drugs were less relaxed. I seriously didn't think it was working at first, then it hit me like a truck. I'd managed to hold a conversation for a while, then I realised I couldn't feel my feet at all. It was as if I was floating. I decided I better lay down, and I lied some long grass for a while, just gazing at the stars. Afterwards, I went back over to where my boyfriend was standing and talking to a few people. He had pretty much the same as me, but somehow managed to compose himself. Here I was, just sitting alongside them all in my own little world. Every moment took me about a minute or two to process, then I'd realise I was not where I thought it was. It happened repeatedly. Each time I snapped back into reality, I got a step closer to identifying the true reality. It was crazy. It took me so long to figure out there were more. There were just my boyfriend and one other person next to me, not 5 or so people. I was enjoying myself in that weird snapping in and out of reality stage. Then I suddenly started to mildly panic and became relatively paranoid that there were people around me talking about me. I turned around after throwing up to find there was only one person and that the voice was actually from 50 metres away, not even talking about me. Went to settle down near the fire, but instead just felt really cold and the smoke felt like it would suffocate me. Sadly, I didn't go sit somewhere isolated and let it all fizzle down like I should have. Tried dancing with everyone as somewhere chances of seeing, but I was not coping. The trance music began sounding incredibly monotonous, which kind of irritated me, which obviously didn't help boost my mood at all. I ended up leaving relatively early. In uncertain times like today's democracy, people want to get out of themselves, and this is none more those than a generation most affected by uncertainty and want to experiment. It is also proven that Generation Z are prone to risk-taking, and thus this is Halloween, but also. Even though the new figures show a rise in the use of drugs among young people, this does not necessarily mean everyone is struggling with an addiction under their belt. A professor and the expert of drugs use pointed out that while more young people are reporting use of certain drugs in the previous year, there just does not seem to be a lot of evidence that this is translating into regular or frequent use.